Welcome back. So this will be a short video on how to sharpen card scraper. This is the method I use. I learned it from old masters which taught me my trade, woodworking trade, and this method is quite simple, dead easy and quick. So now the card scraper method that I used, a trick to smooth out the outside of the bowl, was quite controversial, to say the least, on a Facebook post that I did in the Woodturning group, which to me is quite funny because this tool has been used for ages, and in woodworking as well, and in woodturning, especially in Japanese culture, and they use it from old hacksaw blades, high-speed steel or whatever they have, and it works extremely well, and I'll show that in depth a little bit more. So this method of raising the burr, I would primarily recommend to use it on a card scraper for beginners at least, because if you use it on a standard scraper for wood turning, then if you raise too big of a burr, the hook, the scraper can get real catchy, and on a tool like this, let's say, if you raise too big of a burr, then the scraper, especially if you're hanging a little bit over tool rest, it can get really catchy. For card scraper it works extremely well, and it's quite easy. So the first thing is we're going to sharpen this edge here where I have a marker line. So I use a standard wet and dry sandpaper. You can use diamond stones, ceramic stones, whatever you have. I have only small piece of ceramic stone, which then it's much easier for me to use the sandpaper, but they both work quite well. So you place it halfway and you put a little bit pressure here on the edge and just rub it back and forth a few times. Now this one's flattened and polished a few times, so it doesn't last long to do it, and we'll do the other side as well. And that's it for the sides here. Now the next step is you want to have this tiny edge 90 degrees or close to it, doesn't have to be exact, close to 90 degrees to these faces here, and you can use a block of wood and then rub it, or you can just do it by hand. Pretty much all the stuff I like to do by hand, so I just place it like so, visualize where the 90 would be, lock my hand as best I can, and just do a little bit of movement, and this doesn't take too long. So, and that's it. So you have now 90 degrees to these faces, and it's nicely polished scraper. Now the next step is again controversial, because I don't have a burnisher. Now the burnisher would be great, and I will order one quite soon, but for ages, and the way the old masters taught me, they use a screwdriver. The only thing has to be that this is harder than the card scraper steel, and it pays off if you polish a little bit the rod here, so it glides smoothly, and you can use a lubricant, so like metal on metal, it's not always the best idea. So you can they would actually spit when they were in a hurry to work or anything, they would just spit on the card scraper, do whatever they have to do, and then get back to work. Now I won't spit obviously, but you can use either WD-40, some 3-in-1 oil, machine oil, whatever you have. The next step is to massage from the face outward on the edge of steel. So the way I do it, you go to the edge of your bench, table, whatever you have, you place your burnisher, screwdriver, again whatever you have, and you draw the steel out like this. Again, movement like this. you keep it flat, but you put pressure more on this side. That will inevitably roll the edge out. So this is the way I do it. Doesn't take too long. And I'll do the other side as well. Like so. Now the next step is you can put it in your vise and use, let's say, bench top to have the correct angle. So like this sort of, and draw the steel or the hook burr out here, because the way the shape is now, you have card scraper profile and we draw the steel out like this. Now what I want to do is roll that burr, that hook, onto itself like this. So the next step is just to roll your burr now onto itself. So the way I do it is I place the burnisher screwdriver or whatever you have flat perpendicular to the little tiny edge, drop your handle a degree or two, and then you start it from here and up here. Start from here and up here. So if you're using a vise, you can then put it in a vise and do it like so. Same procedure, but I like to do it freehand, everything pretty much. So again, 90, drop a little bit and just flick it a few times, and then you'll get nice sharp burr. Again on this side. And that's it. And you don't want to have too big of a burr. I'll try to show it to where it is. I hope the camera will pick it up. I hope you can see this tiny, at the very tip, tiny discoloration. It's lighter than the card scraper steel, and that's your hook, that's your burr. Try to maybe scrape a fingernail so you can see tiny bit of dust here, and that's the magic behind this tool. Now ready to be used. So I have here a piece of beech. Just put pencil line here where we're going to scrape, and this is our edge here. The way you use it, you place it 90 degrees to the surface you're trying to scrape, bend it slightly like this, and then as you move forward you drop the scraper like this until it grabs. This is your sweet spot. So if I start 90, nothing happens. Now if I start to drop the scraper down, this is where it grabs, and this is the way you want to hold it. If you're dropping too further down, then you just get dust, and you want to get this fluffy shavings. So in just a few seconds you can see all of the shavings, and this surface here is now quite pristine. You just hit it with maybe 180 a little bit and you're done. For a furniture, let's say for a bowl you would go maybe to 240, 320, and that's it. So that's pretty darn smooth and without any sandpaper involved. If it gets dull, the way I like to do it is quickly resharpen it. So place it flat on the scraper blade, just massage it back down the burr, and this happens quite fast. I'll show you how I do it in real time, let's say. So you just feel that there's no burr. And that's it. And again, few flicks, and the burr is back on. And you can do this without sandpaper a few times before it gets too mushroomed of edge, then you have to go to stones or sandpaper, whatever you're using. So here it's rough still texture from the drying process, and this is here smooth. I can do the other side as well. And if the center is dull, then you can move it on the side here. And that for the last pass I can go quite lightly just to smooth it out even more, and voila, all done, ready for final grit of sanding. I'll show you how I use this on the bowl for really nasty grain that doesn't want to cut or scrape with the standard scrapers. On the inside, usually I don't use scrapers, discard scraper trick, because I can get quite good surface on pretty much any wood just from the gouge and the scraper. So I use this only on the outside, but you can use it on the inside. But if you have a smaller bowl, then the risk of catching it with the bowl is quite high. Now this was quite controversial when I show it on a Facebook group. But this method has been used in wood turning as well for many generations, and when I show it on a bowl in this day and age, I got all of the safety policemen out there concerns, let's say. So great tool, especially in the woodworking, but in the wood turning they still have its use.